Hi, it's Ben Rubik here, and this is 10 tips to improve your Battlefield 4 experience. I'm going to thoroughly explain each tip so that you can go back to the battlefield equipped with the necessary knowledge to improve your gameplay. Alright, so let's get straight to it. Tip number 1, going third person in tanks. This also works for every land vehicle, but it's a problem mainly occurring in tanks. Have you ever been rolling through the hood in your tank and suddenly some ass decides to ruin your fun by slapping some explosive sandwiches on your tank and blow you back to the spawn screen? Well, I'd say we've all been there. So a good way to stop people from blowing you up with C4 is to go third person. Going third person allows you to see the outside of your tank and have a full 360 view of what's happening around you, so that you'll easily be able to witness any enemies coming at you with those bastard bombs, or C4. But you have to remember to keep going third person and remain vigilant so that you don't get caught off guard. Not only does going third person help stop people with C4, it gives you a much wider and clearer view of what you're looking at, so that you'll be able to see and find enemies much easier in general. For example, here when I'm rolling through Siege of Shanghai, I go third person and I'm able to spot a guy in this gap and then go back to first person and just obliterate him. If I was just in first person, I would not even be able to see that. It just gives you a more top view and it's just way wider and clearer. Back! Here's another example of me rolling in a tank and a guy with C4 tries to sneak up on me. But I quickly go third person and he doesn't get a chance. And then I can easily dispose of him. Alright, tip number 2, finding your right sensitivity. Your sensitivity in Battlefield 4, or any first person shooter for that matter, is the most important tool because it is your aim, and a lot of players don't play with the suited sensitivity. So that means a lot of players aren't getting their best aiming capability from their sensitivity. So I'll show you how to get the sensitivity that's right for you. Since I've already gone through this process, I'll do it again for you guys just to show you how to do it. Originally my sensitivity was a sensitivity of 30 and I was playing on that for a long time, but then I discovered this system and you know, my aim got better after I fixed things. So what you do is you find a wall and then you shoot it so that there's a good nice bullet hole in it, and then of course you reload and then you look at it, you aim in on it, try and keep your cursor or the red dot or whatever, and then you walk left to right trying to keep it like directly on the dot. Now if you can do this perfectly, then you don't need to adjust your sensitivity at all. But if you're having trouble like me and you're not getting it directly on and you're sort of wobbling and whatnot, you can improve on that. I even tried it with the tank and I was having the same results. So if your sensitivity isn't good for you right now and you need to improve on it, then you need to find out like whether it needs to be higher or lower. So I first test whether it needs to be higher by doubling what my sensitivity is, like my base sensitivity was at the time. And then I tried that out to see if it was any better. As you can see, it's a lot worse. Like, I'm wobbling over the place way worse. I can't control it. It's just too sensitive for me. So if sensitivity doesn't need to be higher, then it needs to be lower. So I halve it from 30 to get 15, and then I try that out. So as you can see from that, I did better with a lower sensitivity than a higher sensitivity. So now that you've found out whether you should change to a higher sensitivity or a lower sensitivity, you need to take that halved or doubled sensitivity number, in my case it's 15, and you need to find the average number between your halved or doubled sensitivity, mine being 15, and the sensitivity that you were using, mine being 30. So find the average number between those two numbers. You can do this by adding them both together and dividing them by 2. When I do this calculation, I get the number 23, and then I use that number as my sensitivity. And then I try that out whether or not it works against the wall.
Enemy AT soldier north of your location.
As you can see, for me it worked. I'm happy with that sensitivity now, and yeah, if you're not happy with it or comfortable with that sensitivity that you get from that calculation, then just redo the test over and over again until you get to a sensitivity that you're comfortable with and you're getting accurate with. Tip number 3 is to use miniguns on your scout helicopters instead of 25mm cannons. These little miniguns, they pack a punch if you use them correctly. As you can see, I just blew up a jet out of a tree because I don't even give a shit. And move over to this other aircraft. But yeah, anyway, they're really good for taking out light vehicles, including jeeps, those artillery things, other aircraft, and such things. So I recommend using these miniguns because they are the best. Tip number 4, the SRAW wire-guided anti-tank rocket launcher. The SRAW is wire-guided to wherever you point it, so wherever you point your reticle, that's where the rocket will hit. The fired rocket is completely manipulated by where you're aiming, which means gravity doesn't affect it, which means the SRAW is very destructive at any range. Now the SRAW is intended for anti-tank purposes. Although it being extremely effective against tanks due to its wire-guided qualities, it is also very good to use against helicopters and or jets if you're skilled enough. As you can see here, I didn't have to do much to get these heli kills, but don't underestimate the SRAW. It does take a bit of practice to gather the skills to pay the bills. You're not just going to be able to jump into a game and instantly take down all enemy aircraft without a fair bit of practice and understanding the SRAW first. But once you master it, this thing can be better than any Stinger or Igla. So take the SRAW to the battlefield if you're willing to wreck shit up. Oh!
Oh, I saw that. Damn.
Tip number 5, getting kills with a hand flare. That's right, getting kills with a hand flare. In order to pull off such a feat, you have to shoot some slams once with the DMR, then chuck down a hand flare and watch it explode. In case you didn't get that, I pull it off again. I just kill this sniper first. And then I go up to this lab that's been terrorizing our team, chuck down the slams. Got to get 3 of course to blow it up. Shoot it once with the DMR, chuck down your flare, and you get the kill. But then the sniper gets revenge on me, unfortunately. As well as the hand flare, you can also get kills with the flashbang. In order to do this, you just go up to a vehicle or a person you want to kill and chuck down some C4 and then throw the flashbang at it. Flashbang ignites the C4 and bam, you get the kill. I also do it again against this random support guy that didn't want me alive apparently. Chuck down flashbang and some C4 and boom, chemical reaction. Kills him. Unfortunately I died, but whatever. Tip number 6, weak spots on tanks. So if you don't already know, tanks have weak spots, and knowing what these weak spots are is very important if you're going to want to quickly take out enemy tanks. The biggest weak spot found on tanks is at the rear, and shooting the rear directly with a rocket launcher will temporarily disable the tank and halve its health. The other weak spot on tanks is on the sides where the tracks are located. Directly hitting this will temporarily disable the tank and also deal a lot of damage. Keep in mind to try not to hit the front of the tank as it does the least amount of damage because that's where all the armor on the tank is located. Oh, and try not to hit tanks on an angle with your rocket. Doing this will not deal very much damage, the least amount of damage will be dealt, and you don't want to do that. So make sure you get those direct hits. This also counts on the back of the tank. It might be the most weakest spot, but it still does not very much damage.
There he is, I'm shooting down. Where's the tank? Oh, damn! Why?
Tip number 7. Be careful when beeping in Jeeps because beeping will put you on the minimap as demonstrated by my friend Aaron. Every time he beeps, he pops up on the minimap, so be careful.
Just kill him, bro.
Thank you for those sound effects. Tip number 8. You can press spacebar to spawn instead of clicking everywhere around the spawn screen. No longer. Just click on where you want to spawn and then spacebar that shit. Just spam that spacebar and bam. But yeah, just spacebar, you can use that to spawn and it might be easy for you, so give it a try. You can also use spacebar to shoot rockets in helicopters and also operate miniguns in helicopters and all that good stuff. Here I managed to tow missile a helicopter down in my helicopter somehow. I don't even know what the fuck was going on. Anyway, next tip. Tip number 9. Holding E to get into vehicles. Yes, so if you didn't already know, you don't have to just tap E, you can hold it. And that allows you to do cool things like this and just get into helicopters from jets and all that cool sort of stuff. It also makes jet swaps possible. So yeah, next time you're in a scuffle, you need to quickly get into a vehicle, just hold down that E button and it'll happen. Don't just stand there for 20 minutes tapping. And finally, tip number 10. Tip number 10 is understanding that the game has its flaws. Yeah, Battlefield 4, when it first came out, it wasn't the best game. People were expecting a lot more, you know, just a lot of the systems not working well. The netcode, I'm not even going to bring up the netcode. Just, yeah, sometimes shots don't register, things will glitch out, stuff will just happen randomly that just shouldn't happen. It's a video game, so don't get frustrated when these things happen, because they do happen. And as you can see here, I shot 2 guys and then they just kept spawning and spawning, and then this guy was just managed to revive them. So that was pointless. And here I shoot this helicopter and it does nothing. Yeah, so just understand that it's just a game. These things will happen, these things do happen. There it is, hitting it again. So weird. But yeah, the game is glitchy. So that's all 10 tips. That pretty much wraps up the video. Just remember to go third person in tanks, find your comfortable sensitivity, use miniguns in scout helis instead of the 25mm cannons. Don't underestimate the power of the SRAW. Blow stuff up with flashbangs and the hand flares. Remember the weak spots on tanks. Beeping reveals your position, so be aware. Hit spacebar to spawn, hold E when getting into vehicles, and remember, Battlefield 4 is not perfect. So yeah, that's all the 10 tips. If you guys think I missed anything or I should have included anything, please leave a comment down below telling me what. So I've been Ben Rubik, and I'll see you guys next Friday.